On the way to the cross, Jesus gathered 12 ordinary men to teach and disciple.
They were common people, even outcasts. No one thought they were exceptional.
But Jesus did. He called each one by name, made it personal, and said,
"Follow me."
On the way to the cross, Jesus was going to heal a sick child when a woman in need of healing of her own touched his robe. Although he was pressed for time, Jesus stopped and asked,
"Who touched me?"
From the crowd steps this shy, apologetic woman, explaining what she had done and hoping she was not in trouble. She was in a state of shock when the Son of God made it personal and said,
"Woman, because of your faith, you are healed."
On the way to the cross, Jesus went out of his way to comfort the mourning family and friends of Lazarus. Feeling their pain, Jesus wept also. The compassion he showed was astounding. But it didn't stop there. He called for him.
"Lazarus, come out!"
And Lazarus did just that, walked out of the tomb, alive and well. Jesus called his name. You cannot get any more personal than that. Think of this. If he had just said, "Come out," a legion of dead people could have risen from the grave. Not only did he have the power to raise the dead, he had the power to make a personal connection.
I'm Bobby Parker, and this is my story. I can imagine what that must have felt like. The Lazarus come out, to be dead and be called by the author of life to come back. When I think about my story, my addiction, I really can't imagine it. I can feel it in my soul. Of course, I can remember the highs of addiction too. After all, how else would any addict start out? Certainly not at the bottom, certainly not dead inside, and certainly not dead in so many aspects of their lives. Drugs became life to me, though, after a long love affair with that high. And if drugs were life to me, then cocaine certainly became my heart. There wasn't anything I wanted more. There wasn't anything I wouldn't do. Cocaine replaced every other love I'd ever had, even the love I'd had for my own life. It started with parties and people, but it ended alone. It started with lights and music, but it ended with silence. Empty rooms and quiet concentration on the love of my life, cocaine. Everyone else had been shut out because there just wasn't enough for all of us. And I couldn't share, and strangely I couldn't be satisfied either. By the time the end had come, I had been warned by people who used to go blow for blow, so to speak, that I was way out of control. I'd steal for coke. I'd stay awake for days for coke. I would bleed for coke. I'd crawl on hands and knees for coke. I wouldn't eat for days with coke. I'd lie for it. I would hurt people that loved me for coke. And I would trade everything for coke. And I had traded everything for coke. What did coke do for me? She left me dead inside, feelings for others that were dead, and a feeling of self-preservation that was dead, a future that was dead, dreams that were dead, an empty bag, and a plummet from the cloud that I was on. A jail cell and a cold floor. A phone call and a cold reality. But despite all of this, I still needed her. Cocaine. Her voice was always there, and in ways it always is. This is where another voice came in. There at the end, in the dark, a cocaine addict willing to peel flesh off of bone for her. I heard his voice. The voice of Jesus, like Lazarus had heard. I heard it through people that loved me enough to say that right where I was, he loved me. Dirty, addicted, selfish, a thief, a liar, a wreck. He loved me. And I heard him in my mama's voice. I heard him in my girlfriend, now my wife's voice. And I heard him in so many voices of love that I knew he had called me. He had heard the cries of a mama. He had heard Esther's cries, my wife. And he had heard a grandmother's tears at the counter in Bradenton, Florida. And he came. And he comforted, just like he did Lazarus' family. And he caused my life to be changed by his call to start new, like Lazarus, from death to life, because of what he did on the cross, because he's still doing it today, right where we are. He is calling our name, like he called my name.